Hello. Do you deal with a narcissist? Do you have a narcissist around you? I have about 3. Okay. I have a neighbor across the street who's a covert narcissist. I have a lord of the manor up the street who thinks I am just the perfect person to rake his yard. Okay. And the guy next door to me is a bit of a narc himself. He's got some traits at least. Okay. Well, hello. I'm Steve Barham. I'm Happiness Today on Twitter for Happiness is No Charge. And I also have had to deal with narcissists from time to time. I started dealing with this one across the street, and for about for a couple months or whatever. Well, about 6 months later, my brother-in-law, turns out my brother-in-law is a narcissist, and he wrote himself into Father's will and told his lawyer, I am a beneficiary. Told his lawyer that. Okay? I know I am a beneficiary, blah, 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 blah. Well, how would he know if he's a beneficiary if he never saw the will or the trust? He was still claiming to be my sister's executor of her will and estate long after he'd closed the estate. Okay? He closed the estate after about a month and a half. He bullied my sister on her deathbed with cancer to make him sole beneficiary. So, in dealing with him, I did my technique a lot. In dealing with the guy across the street, I did my technique a lot. There was a lot of shock. There was a lot of insult and belittlement, etc. Even after some things have been quieted down and you make up. Okay, and apologies all around. He apologized to me, I apologized to him, and we're on good terms, right? At a party, whilst he starts in with, if you weren't here, would this conversation be happening? And I said, well, if it's a worthy conversation, turn around, walk off. And then while we are sitting, another person is talking him up, how good he is, how helpful he is, and he leans over and belittles me. And so these people are insincere in their apologies. They always have to dominate. They always they have black and white thinking. So once you are on their S list, you are always on their S list. And S does not stand for similar or same or whatever. It stands for something else. Well, so you're never going to be on equal terms with them ever anyway. So it doesn't matter what you do. I'm laughing because I learned something. Okay? And 6 months later, I'm using it on my brother-in-law, as well as my technique. Okay? Because what narcissists like to do is shock you. They use shock to surprise you and to weaken you, to put you off balance so that you are not noticing what they are doing. It is a part of gaslighting and a part of projection, and a part of accusations and provocations in goading you, in setting you up for the fall or the prank or the joke. The guy across the street is a covert narc. He likes to joke. It's just a prank. It's just a joke, Steve. It's harmless. I already had my PTSD for about 10 years before I started running into narcissists, because I was living at home and didn't have anybody around me other than my father, who had his own little issues, but at least he wasn't a full-blown narcissist, you know. He had some traits, he had some of his own insecurities, and he had his own paranoia issues and stuff. He was having heart troubles, and it wasn't pumping blood up to his brain, so he was getting dementia and Alzheimer's type of symptoms, but it turned out to be congestive heart failure. That's what he died of. So I don't blame him at all. He really had a hard time. But it affected our relationship, and even when I go over to put my hand on his, you know, to show some compassion, you know, some human caring and kindness, he takes my hand off of his and he says, "I don't want to have anything to do with you. You're trying to kill me." Nobody was trying to kill him. And that wasn't really my father. That was a hurt body. My father was generally a very kind and very generous man, you know, and he did all right for himself in life for the growing up that he had. So anywho, narcissism. Back to narcissism and narcissistic abuse, bullies, and generally toxic people, okay? What I discovered is a lot like gray rock. They call something gray rock. You make yourself bland, you dull yourself up, you don't wear flashy clothes, you don't wear that big diamond ring or anything like that. You dull yourself up so as not to outshine the narcissist. Well, we don't do that, because that still gives them all of the attention and all of the glory, and that's what they want for their namesake and gain. We don't let them have that. With what I call blank wall. Have you ever practiced tennis or ping pong up against a wall? Practicing against a wall. Well, right, you know, the wall always wins. You'll miss it, but the wall won't. Okay? And the wall don't care. So like a narcissist, you're dealing with you know, okay? Well, we become the blank wall. We become the wall and hit the ball back to them. Okay? I did it last night. I'm at a store going to buy groceries. One of the workers there, a little bit of acquaintance, you know, but not much, he gets antagonistic and he gets provoking and bit insulting. And when I say something, it's like, "Oh, and he's the only one who says so." You know? That was his attitude. See? That's an emotional state of antagonism. It's a hostility. It's a type of hostility. He isn't really joking. He isn't making it into a joke. He's being snide and sarcastic or whatever, you know. Usually I don't have a comeback. Okay, but I have learned to always have a comeback, even if it's, you know, I gotta go get the apples now. Turn around, walk away. Okay, even if it's just something like that. But mine was, well, that's why I have to talk myself up, because nobody else will. I turn around, walk off. He was laughing. You do not have to let insults, put-downs, and intimidation bother you. But if they do, always have a comeback, and at least you can avoid shutting down. When you do not have a comeback, it is like your communication line got cut. Okay? You got cut. It's like you got cut off, and that can happen as well. And then we go into shutdown. Okay, we go into a depression with shutdown. Okay, we didn't have a comeback, we didn't have an answer, and so we shut down. And that puts us into kind of a lifeless type of state, and it's emotional lifelessness, but it affects our energy. Okay, I do my technique on this type of stuff because I shut down myself. Okay, one time I did not have a comeback, and it got to me. The emotional pressure built up, and it got to me, and I shut down because I didn't have an answer. I didn't have a comeback. This last time I had an answer. I had a comeback. Even if it's just something so simple like, oh gee, look at the time, turn around and walk off. Okay? In blank wall, you never use the word you or your or yours or whatever. You never, 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 never turn the conversation over to the narcissist, because they will turn that into a fight or more gaslighting or more arguing or whatever, which is what they want. And they want you to be upset, and they use shock tactics to do that, to traumatize you. Shock is a part of trauma, okay? And it's a stress. So there are three things. There are three types of emotional charges right there. There's shock, there is the traumatic charge, what it's called is traumatic charge, and then there is the stress charge, and then there's the emotion, the intimidation from the insult or whatever antic they're doing. Okay? It can be blaming. I know you're cheating on me, blaming. Okay? And you have a comeback. Okay? Even if it's just, I had a really good apple for lunch today. Bland. Not about them, not even about what they said. And they'll turn around and go, well, what the heck has that got to do with anything? Well, I really enjoyed that apple. That's what it has to do with. My enjoyment, which they can't understand or even feel or even acknowledge. They're narcissists. Okay. What part of no empathy do we not understand, right? Okay, so what you do is you keep it bland and not about them. Okay, I really enjoy watching that movie. Okay, I know you're cheating on me. If I were to do that, I would feel so ashamed, and that's why I don't do that. It's not about them, it's about how I feel in that position, see? I would feel so ashamed to ever do that, period. Click send. Okay? And so, it's not about you. They are projecting. They're the ones probably cheating. Either that or they are stuck in some paranoia episode, where everybody's just against them. Maybe something didn't go well at work and they have to come home and emotionally dump on somebody because they can't handle the emotional charge or the emotional pressure. Okay? A narcissist has an emotional problem. It is about their emotions and their emotional state and their incapability to deal with it. So they dump it on others. Okay? Some of it can be very, 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 very toxic. So we use blank wall. We never dull ourselves up. If you drive a nice car, so what? Okay? If you wear nice clothes, that's your entitlement. See? Okay? They can't accept your entitlement anyway, so you might as well do what you're entitled to too, which is also to be happier. Okay? I have a friend. He has an ex-wife who's a narcissist. And some of the things that he has shown me and told me about, and oh my goodness, okay, well, he uses blank wall on her, okay? He never texts her, okay? So when she texts him, he blank walls her, okay? I had a really good, my friend is a prison guard, so I was in Fort Tower all day today. She comes back with, what the heck does that have to do with this, and stuff, and he says, well, I was at work all day, and stuff. Or he'll say, I certainly don't feel that way. See, it's about his feelings, okay? And it just ticks her off, and that he is not giving her any attention, because narcissism is about attention, and it can be a war, a competition for attention. Who's got the most thing? Who's the most this? Who's the best at this? Who's the best at that? I ran into that in the 70s. A couple of guys were employees, okay, and they got their ego in an uproar, because they're black belts like me. I'm a black belt too, and I own the studio, I own the business. What are you getting in my face for? You should be doing your job, right? Okay, well, I'm a black belt, it's beneath me now, and stuff. Well, they used to be white belts too. I never forgot where I came from. I never forgot that I had been a white belt, okay? I was always grateful for the opportunity that I was given, and I didn't take it really for granted until I started owning the school. And I kind of took a little leeway and a little bit of things for granted, I guess, but it takes two to tango, right? It isn't just you, okay? When you have a conceited SOB demanding that you give him the studio because he's the top sparrer in the school and has won a tournament, he deserves the school for free for what I paid $12,500 for back in the 70s. Pay about $120,000 for that now. Okay. So it goes deeper than just ego. It goes into conceit and vanity and megalomania. Okay? And so, eventually, things happened. Well, back to blank wall. Okay? We don't dull ourselves up. You can dress the way you want. You can do what you want. You can drive what you want. You have the best house you can afford or whatever. Things that you can afford and stuff like that. You don't have to be extravagant, and you don't have to be putting it in their face deliberately or whatever. Okay? They're going to crash and burn anyway. Okay? And they're not going to like you anyway because you were the problem, because they were never the problem. You were the problem. They blame you for everything. Okay? So you might as well blank wall them. Don't turn it back on them. Don't turn it back to them. Make it all about you. You are not a supply. A supply of attention, a supply of emotional dumping, a supply of sanity or insanity, because they try to drive you insane. They try to actually, some are so afflicted, okay, that they want to switch places with you. They want to take your sanity and leave you with their insanity because they can't stand themselves. They can't. They cannot stand themselves. So in their fantasy world, they don't want to be themselves. They want to be you. That's a fixation, that's an obsession, that's a compulsion, that's what I call an insanity. It's more than just a mere disorder. It's more than just a personality defect. Okay? It has consequences for everyone around them. So, in addition to blank walling and keeping everything bland and keeping everything really about yourself and not being a supply, but not being antagonistic towards them, never show them any emotion whatsoever, because they are emotional vampires and it is energy draining to us. So never show any emotion in your reply. Make your reply as bland as possible, because they want drama. And we make it bland. We are not a source of drama. See? So it's statements like, I had a really good apple for lunch. I had a really good walk by the park, out in the park. It was such a nice day, I felt great. You know? And if you live with a narc and they persist, you just persist yourself. I know you're embezzling money from me. Okay? I know you're embezzling money from me. See, a narcissist will project that onto the other person because they can't take the blame for their own embezzlement, which they are probably doing. Okay, so whatever they accuse you of, you can bet they're doing it themselves. Okay? And so what you do is you deflect. They will deflect if you accuse them of something. They will just deflect and change subjects. And so we kind of mirror them like they mirrored us. Okay? They will mirror to worm themselves into a relationship with you so that they can get involved. And then they can start taking control and become you and leave you in a mess. Okay? Some people are lucky and extricate themselves after a couple of weeks. And some people are not so lucky and don't extricate themselves for years. Okay? And they go through hell. And so I'm trying to help people avoid that. Okay? So when they, I know you're embezzling money and stuff like that, it's, your reply is, and the evidence for that is what? It isn't what do you base the evidence on, okay? It's what evidence is there of that, okay? It's not you. Don't use the word you, okay? Because that gives them the power, okay? That gives them the attention. That gives them the authority. So we keep it bland. We keep it neutral. We keep it just kind of, a barrier there, okay, of non-commitment, non-engagement, okay? We are answering, we are not ignoring them, okay? The guy across the street came over, and I was washing the car, and I had my back turned. He says, "Can I ask you a question?" And I don't answer. Can I ask you a question? And I don't answer. Can I ask you a question? I don't answer. I really need to ask you a question. I don't answer. Fifth time, I would really like to ask you a question. So I get up and I turn, oh, there you, hello, how you doing? Didn't hear you. He's hard of hearing. What do you want? I'd like to know if I could borrow your red recycling bin. I thought with the way he was insisting on doing it, asking me a question, that it was going to be something important. I go, well, don't you have a red recycling bin too? I mean, he goes, yeah. I go, well, why don't you use your own recycling bin? And he goes, yeah. He walks off all nice and happy, doesn't even say goodbye or thank you or whatever. It's a narcissist. He's totally self-absorbed, see? Okay? And it's not about the red recycling bin. It was hovering, or some people call hoovering, because they suck. Okay, I guess. But they hang around and hang around and hang around to make contact so they can show that you can't ignore them. Okay, they need your attention. Okay, and they can get your attention. One way or another, they will goad you into giving them the attention. Well, this turns out to be to our advantage, because at the end of every conversation, we do this horrible thing to them. We steal all of the attention. He came over to me. He wanted to ask me questions. He wanted something from me. I realized I have control here. My attention is a commodity. Your attention is a commodity. You are a supply, and supplies are a commodity. And you control your supply. You control the commodity. Interesting, huh? Because they think they're in control, and they're trying to drag control away from you. Okay? That's how they can get at us. Well, with blank wall, it's a lot harder for them to get at us. Okay? He walked away happy. He had a smile on his face. Didn't even thank me. You know? And I'm thinking for this guy. I'm thinking for this guy. And then I have a picture of Gilligan's Island and the skipper going, why don't you do that yourself, Gilligan? You know? And then it was funny. It's hilarious. My prison guard friend just has a riot with this with his ex-wife. He's even gotten some of his stuff back. Okay? So, how do we steal the attention from the narcissist? Okay? Well, it's kind of like writing a letter to a company. Dear company so-and-so, I don't like this, blah, 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 blah. I have this issue. Thank you for giving me your kind attention in this matter. You know, thank you for your kind attention in this matter. Any help is appreciated. Okay? Well, it's kind of like that. Okay? At the end of your text, at the end of the conversation, at the end of the email or whatever, okay, this is what you say. Thanks for giving me all the attention. Or, thanks for giving me attention. They came to you. Remember, they were talking to you. They were dumping on you, hoping to get them sympathy or whatever. Okay? So that's how we steal all of the attention. And that's a horrible thing to a narcissist. You'll get kicked out of their club, and that's fine, because then they won't be bothering you anymore. Okay? We can be a bit selfish in that ourselves, I think. It is not wrong to feel better about ourselves. It's a good thing. There are a lot of perfect things to say to a narcissist in a non-combative engagement way. Okay? Such as, I don't accept accusations. Click send. Okay? That is an accusation I don't accept. or I don't accept things like that. In mentioning an accusation, they might get the idea that you are against them accusing you. So you might say, I don't even respond to something like that. Okay? Funny? I don't feel shamed about that. Okay? It's perfect. Let them feel ashamed for something that they actually did, okay? I don't have to. You don't have to either. You can just say, funny, I don't feel ashamed because I didn't do that. Would you like me to make you a sandwich? Have a seat, I'll give you a massage. You know, whatever. You know? Distraction, deflection. So keep it bland. You don't have to dull yourself up or give anything up, okay? Just become a blank wall and just hit the ball back to them. Let them play with themselves. They're kind of already having that delusion anyway, right? And so to continue, it's hilarious. Okay, you can actually have a lot of fun with this. Okay, and you can actually get back a lot of your self-control, and it's emotional. Now, we can still have problems because things can still bother us. It is still something that the brain has to process, and our mind and subconscious have to process and not just store back there. Processing is looking at what that is right now in real time as it is. And we do this with an emotion like intimidation. I felt intimidated. You know, the guy put me down at the dinner table, and I felt intimidated, so I was fearful that for some reason in my reaction, you know, that I wasn't good enough or whatever. So the blame is on me somehow, and not on his put down. I'm internalizing it, and I am introverted. They want you to be introverted, okay? So you aren't noticing what they are. What they're doing is puffing themselves up to be superior, okay? And so you're the inferior one, and I have the entitlement to pick on you because you're inferior or whatever, okay? No. I'm a 10th degree black belt, not inferior. I got my black belt in 1974. And continued to study and train, okay? And I got to be pretty high up, okay? And so you would think that a high-ranking black belt wouldn't have fear, but I got sick last decade. I got horribly ill, and it left me in shreds, and it left me with PTSD, and I was in shock. I was in a big state of shock for 2 years, and I still can fall into things. Okay, with my PTSD symptoms. So I have no thyroid. That also gives you anxiety and depression episodes anyway, just as a symptom of lack of thyroid. So I got, and in my 40s I'd had a stroke, and I still have some debilitating things from the stroke. So I wasn't as confident, and I wasn't as sure, and I have uncertainties and stuff, and I have anxiety, I have stress. When pressure gets to me, I get stressed, and I can even have a crying fit breakdown. I can have moments of weakness where I break down and I start hitting myself. I've had hysteria episodes, flashbacks, panic attacks, anxiety attacks of shooting down, shock, shooting down my body type of fear and paralysis. And I've had suicidal episodes and stuff like that. And I use my emotional technique. I'm an emotional researcher. And I discovered a technique back in 2009 that stops negative emotions and works well on shock, and it works even with narcissists and the emotional things that they cause us through shock and self-doubt and worry and concern. They want us to feel anxious and stuff like that. He's been gone 2 months. When is he coming back? You know, and then they'll come back from ghosting or whatever, like they left 10 minutes ago to go to the store to get cigarettes or something, right? Okay, like it's not a problem to them. See, it's your problem. And my father had some of that trait. He would do something, I would get upset or whatever, and he would just leave me in that. You know. He wouldn't try, you know, most of the time my father was very encouraging. He was very, very encouraging about things. But there were times when he was callous and just heartless and just left me there if we were and then he would turn into the victim and say, well, you're sure after me. Well, this guy across the street did that. Okay? I had a new telescope. I was having a problem. He'd been telling bald jokes. 5 or 6 bald jokes in a row. You know, I laughed at the first one. I giggled at the second one. But the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, I kind of, you know, got old real fast, okay? Well, he comes over, and he doesn't say hi. He stands in a superior position to me, above me on the driveway. And instead of saying, hello, Steve, how you doing? Nice new scope and stuff like that. How's it going? And stuff like that. He doesn't. What does he do? He proclaims a bald joke. And I took umbrage at that, and I let him have it and stuff like that. And he turns around and he walks off down the driveway and all huff and puffy and everything like that. And I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells, Steve. You know, turns around, walks off. He'd been telling telling jokes about me, you know, and stuff like that, and no concern for me whatsoever. So, yeah, he's a covert narcissist. Textbook. I looked it up. Everything mentioned about a covert narcissist, he has. They use jokes and pranks as a put down. It is not harmless fun. Okay? 3 aliens walk into a saloon in the Old West, and the bartender says, we don't serve your kind here. So they pull out their atomic blasters and shoot up the bar. When the dust settles, the bartender comes up and says, belly up to the bar, boys, what'll it be? He changed his tune real fast. See, that's a joke. Not very funny sometimes, but that's a joke. 3 nuns walk into a bar in the Old West. The bartender says, we don't serve your kind here. So they pull out their 6 shooters and shoot up the bar. Okay, this is my standard joke. This is my universal joke. So anyway, that's a joke. But a narcissist or a covert narcissist uses that joke or prank to make you look stupid, foolish, and to humiliate you, to put you down, to make you inferior so that they can feel superior. And my next door neighbor does that as well once in a while. The Lord of the Manor is a different story. Okay, but I use blank wall on all toxic people now, including that guy's toxic crap at the store. Well, that's why I have to talk about myself. Turn around, walk off, because nobody else does. You know. Sad. You know, but somebody's probably getting on his case, and he just had to vent himself. And me, I deflected it. You can use deflection. Always have a comeback, even if it's, well, look at the time, and turn around and walk off. But at least you had an answer. And you will probably not shut down. If you still have problems with emotions, I wrote a book. I put everything I know about emotional charge and the technique I teach into Happiness is No Charge to Target Your Emotions. Here's a person who doesn't feel like himself. That's why he's a white cardboard figure in the real world. And he's got all of these emotions suppressing him, but there's a target there. There's a sniper's crosshairs here on these emotions. He's going to target his emotions. So check out my book. I'll leave some links, and thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope Blank Wall serves you well. So take care. I'm Steve Barham. I'm an emotional researcher. I'm Happiness Today on Twitter for Happiness is No Charge, which is the name of my work. Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. Take care, and we'll see you next time.